Not so long ago, in a kingdom somewhere in Africa, lived a proud people with a proud tradition. A people who revered their chief priestess, a woman bound by tradition never to marry, but whose heart longed for a child. So she jumped from one man to the other, hoping by chance to get that which she loved, a child of her own, but there was none forthcoming. Her womb was blocked and she was bound only to be useful in the service of the gods, it seemed. This priestess, powerful yet tormented, sought the help of her deity. After years of fruitless unions, she made a pact. If the deity blessed her with a child, she would offer whatever sacrifice was demanded in return. Her prayers were answered, and she bore a daughter, whom she named Arama, meaning, water from a stone. From the moment Arama was born, it was clear she was no ordinary child. By the age of 5, her eyes seemed opened with great understanding of deep secrets of the supernatural world. She knew secrets that no one had taught her, things even her mother, the revered priestess, couldn't comprehend. Yet Arama's powers came with a darker side. By the time she turned 16, it became evident to her mother that something was gravely wrong. No matter the hour, no matter the noise, once Arama fell asleep at night, she could not be woken until dawn. The chief priestess soon discovered the terrifying truth. Her daughter was a witch. Despite all efforts to break the curse, Arama's fate was sealed. Her mother, guilt-stricken, knew she had promised the deity a great sacrifice, and now she realized that the price had been her own daughter's soul. In despair, the priestess resigned herself to Arama's dark destiny. Arama grew up to become a feared woman, notorious for the swift and devastating misfortunes that befell anyone who dared cross her. Those who offended her would lose their health, their wealth, or their loved ones in the blink of an eye. Even the most powerful men in the village shuddered at the mere mention of her name. When her mother died, Arama inherited the role of chief priestess. But by then, the kingdom had changed. The people had begun turning away from the old ways, embracing the growing influence of Christianity. The once bustling shrine became abandoned, and Arama found herself fading into obscurity. It was then that Arama devised a cunning plan. One day, she dramatically abandoned her role as priestess and declared that she had found the Christian faith. She cloaked herself in righteousness, but beneath her holy garb, she was still the witch she had always been. Word of her prophetic abilities spread quickly. She could predict events with eerie accuracy, and many flocked to her because of the power of her prophecy, unaware that it was her dark powers, not divine gifts, that allowed her to see the future. With her newfound reputation as a prophetess, Arama built her own church. Business flourished, but her rise to prominence was not due to healing the sick or helping the downtrodden. Her success came from her manipulation of those who sought salvation. At night, Arama roamed as a witch, casting spells and inflicting illnesses on unsuspecting villagers. She would send them strange dreams, make them sick with sudden fevers, or even strike them blind. By day, these same victims would find their way to her church, seeking her help. Arama, now revered as a prophetess, would demand exorbitant sums of money in exchange for healing. The wealth of the village flowed into her hands as people paid whatever she asked, desperate to be free of their afflictions. Her wickedness knew no bounds. Arama would sneak into homes during her nightly wanderings, eavesdropping in a spirit form, and listen to private conversations, while learning the deepest secrets of her followers. The next day, She would reveal these secrets, convincing them of her divine insight. Her followers worshipped her, believing she was sent from above to guide and protect them. But also, equally famous in that kingdom, was the beautiful daughter of the king named Alara. Known far and wide for her kindness and beauty, her smile could light up the gloomiest of days. But even more enchanting than her beauty was the love she shared with a nobleman named Edrin. Their love was pure, a bond the people of the kingdom believed nothing could break. However, Arama had watched the couple from afar, consumed with envy. Arama could have almost any man because of her riches and powers, yet her heart longed for the one thing she could never possess: Edrin's love. No spell could make a heart truly love another, but her dark magic could destroy what she envied. One fateful night, Arama whispered ancient incantations into the wind, casting a spell that would change everything. A thick fog rolled through the kingdom, and the very next morning, Princess Alara awoke to a world of blindness. The vibrant colors of the palace, the smiling faces of her people, and the light in Edrin's eyes, everything was gone. She was blind. Distressed, Alara clung to Edrin, hoping his love would be enough to guide her through the darkness. But the witch's spell was cruel. It did more than take Alara's sight, it also poisoned Edrin's heart. The more he looked at the princess, the less he could feel the love that once consumed him. Instead, his heart began to turn toward Arama, who now appeared before him as the love of his life. As Alara sat in her chambers, shrouded in sorrow and confusion, she began to sense a cold distance growing between them. Edrin, no longer able to bear the sight of her blindness, began spending his days with Arama the Witch-Prophetess. The witch, now enchanting him with her beauty and charm, spun her web tighter around his heart as he slowly forgot all about Alara the princess. Days turned into weeks, and soon, Edrin no longer visited the princess at all. He had fallen under Arama's spell, believing that the witch, with her mysterious allure and intoxicating power, was his true love. His once fiery passion for Alara had turned to indifference, while Arama basked in his affection. Left alone in her darkened world, Alara's heart shattered. She could not understand why Edrin, her once loyal lover, had abandoned her. She was distracted, and no one could comfort her, not even her father the king. Each night, she prayed to the gods, hoping her sight might return, and that Edrin would love her again. But the gods were silent, and the weight of her sorrow grew heavier by the day. It got to a point when the queen could no longer bear to see her daughter languishing as each day go by, so the queen was forced to act. She sent her messengers with a bag of gold to the infamous Ayugalu, the hand to the dreaded deity Apaka, demanding Arama's head.
3 days and she dies.
Ayugalu replied to her servants, who rushed back to inform the queen of the good news. The queen was very pleased. At last her daughter would have her revenge. But on the 3rd day, it was the remains of Ayugalu that was found in the forest after been partly eaten by hyenas. Again Arama stood too tall, even against the royal family. Arama, now triumphant in her victory, stood at the height of her power. She had taken everything from Alara, the light in her eyes, and the love in her heart. Yet, in the deepest recesses of Arama's soul, she could not escape the truth. Edrin's love, even if directed toward her, was not real. It was an illusion, a fragile fantasy created by her magic. But one day, Arama met her match. In a neighboring village, a mysterious woman arrived, a stranger who quickly gained attention for her beauty and wealth. The woman, known to all as Mariah, bought a grand house, and soon men from all corners of the land courted her. Arama, ever greedy, saw an opportunity to exploit Mariah's wealth. She cast a spell to make Mariah fall ill, intending to be the only one able to cure her in exchange for a fortune. However, Arama had made a fatal mistake. Mariah was no ordinary woman. She was a sea goddess in disguise, come to the village to experience life among mortals. When Arama's spell struck, Mariah let out a terrible cry that echoed across the village, shaking the very ground. That night, as Arama entered the dream world to feast on the suffering she had caused, she found herself trapped in a nightmare of her own making. Maria's voice filled the darkness, mocking her. "Did you think you could steal from a goddess, Arama?" the voice thundered. "Your greed will be your undoing." The next day, the villagers found Arama writhing in agony in her church, her once beautiful face contorted in pain. No one could heal her. Her followers, now frightened, abandoned her one by one. And the princess, Edrin, and everyone else whom Arama had chained with her witch evil magic finally regained their freedom. The princess was no longer blind and Edrin was himself again, and he and the princess became lovers once more. The fear of Arama was dying and the air of peace was everywhere. In her final moments, Arama realized the terrible truth. She had tried to manipulate a power far greater than her own. The wealth, power, and respect she had so ruthlessly pursued crumbled before her eyes. Mariah, the sea goddess, returned to the sea, leaving behind only whispers of her presence. The village, free from Arama's evil, turned away from false prophets forever. And so, the story of Arama, the witch-prophetess, became a cautionary tale, warning of the dangers of greed, deception, and the perils of seeking power at any cost.
Thanks for watching. Please encourage me by hitting the like and subscribe button. And don't forget to smash that notification bell, so you'll be the first to know when I drop something new. It will also be nice to hear from you on the comment section of this channel.